Hi guys, hope you're well. Today's video is going to be my top tips for getting yourself out of a reading slump. If you're an avid reader like myself, then you may have experienced times where you just don't want to read, or you do want to read but you just can't get into anything. I'm not currently in a reading slump myself. I've actually read 12 books this month and it's only the 15th of April. So I'm doing really well with my reading, but I have had 2 weeks off and I've been ill for most of it, so I've got a lot of reading done. I've been in reading slumps before, such as when I've read the most amazing book and I can't bring myself to pick anything else up because I know that nothing will compare to it. I've also discovered new TV series where I can watch all 6 seasons at once and then I forget all about reading. And what will probably happen in the coming weeks is I will rewatch all of the Game of Thrones seasons ready for the new one. So here are my top tips for getting yourself out of a reading slump. Tip number 1 is reorganising my bookcase, and I've done this a couple of times in the last few weeks, mainly because I've had new books that I've needed to slot into certain places. But I love reorganising my bookcase, mainly because it makes me realise how much I love reading and I get to see all of my favourite books again. Tip number 2 is to listen to an audiobook, which I find really useful when I don't have time to physically pick up a book. I also have the text-to-speech function on my Kindle, which is useful, and I love listening to audiobooks when I'm cooking, when I'm in the bath, and also Hayley and Bookland introduced me to the idea of doing an adult colouring book whilst listening to an audiobook, which I've done a lot lately. Tip number 3 is to read a smaller book. Quick YA contemporary reads are my absolute go-to in this situation because they are so easy to read and they don't require too much thinking. Fantasy is an absolute no-go for me in a reading slump because there is too much world building and it just makes me think too hard. And if I don't get round to reading a new book, then I will reread an old favourite because I already know how much I'll love it. Tip number 4 is to watch a book-to-movie adaptation that you really liked. I know not everyone likes it when books are made into films, but I personally love it because I love film. And I usually find that once I've watched something like that, it makes me want to read books that are about to be made into films because I love to read the book before the movie comes out. Tip number 5 is to try writing instead. I did 2 years worth of creative writing as part of my university degree, so I absolutely love writing, and if I'm ever in a position where I don't feel like picking up any form of book, I love turning my laptop on and just having a go at writing something. I also have this book here as well, which is 642 Things to Write About, which has got lots of writing prompts in here. I absolutely love going through this. It's got things in here like, let's have a look and see. A strange girl who hides herself under layers and layers of clothing, so then you just have to think of something to write for it. Your favourite hiding place, things you should throw away but can't. You track down an old boyfriend or girlfriend. The president's personal to-do list, a powerful Hollywood agent's personal to-do list. Go out to dinner with a friend and as soon as you get home write in that person's voice. Begin with something the person said. There's so many things in here and they're absolutely brilliant. Tip number 6 is to go through your Goodreads lists. I absolutely love Goodreads and I'm constantly adding books to my want to read list, but I find that physically writing some of them down on paper actually inspires me to read some of them. Tip number 7 is to get onto YouTube. I love booktube videos and there is nothing more inspiring than watching some of your favourites talk about books that they love. This will introduce you to new books and get you excited about reading again. Tip number 8 is to go for a walk around your favourite bookstore or library. I love going into bookstores and looking at all of their displays. Sometimes just seeing beautiful book covers is the only inspiration I need to get back into reading. I also love going to look around the library because there are so many books there just to browse, and if you feel inspired to read again while you're there, it won't cost you a penny. Tip number 9 is to make yourself a designated reading space. I have 2 places that I like to go and read, and as soon as I sit there I feel more inclined to read straight away. My favourite place to read is actually in the bath, which I know terrifies some people, having a book over water, but I love it. Finally, tip number 10. This isn't so much a tip, more just a piece of advice, and that is don't force yourself to read. Don't make yourself read a book for the sake of it, because you will end up resenting the book and you could end up making your reading slump last even longer. Give yourself a bit of time, try out some of these tips, and hopefully you'll be reading again soon. So those were my top tips for getting yourself out of a reading slump. I know that these won't work for everybody, but these are the tips that personally work for me. If you would like a video on my recommended reads for when you are in a reading slump, do let me know. Also, if you would like a video of my favourite book to film adaptations, then you can let me know if you're interested in that as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you again next Monday with a new video. Bye!